Did Buddha reject the idea of a soul? In the quest for the meaning and value of life, humanity has developed profound concepts of the self and the soul. In the philosophical worldview, the two main thoughts of materialism and idealism represent two basic approaches to reality and the essence of human beings. The materialist viewpoint, supported by many scientists, argues that consciousness is nothing more than a product of matter. It arises from brain activity and ends when this life ceases. According to this perspective, death marks the end of all conscious activity, with no existence or transition beyond this physical body's cessation. Conversely, the idealist perspective highlights a concept of the soul that transcends the limits of material. The soul, according to various religions and idealist philosophies, is an immutable entity, not subject to birth or death, existing independently of the physical body and continuing to exist after death. The soul could reincarnate into a new body or enter a spiritual realm, depending on the karmic forces and the individual's spiritual practice. This viewpoint opens an endless spiritual journey, where the ultimate goal is liberation from the cycle of birth and death, or nirvana, the supreme state of serenity and liberation. Chapter 1. The concept of the soul in idealist religions. The concept of the soul in idealist religions carries a particularly profound and diverse meaning, reflecting the multidimensionality of human spirituality. In Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, the soul is considered the true essence of a person, created by God and given life through His breath. The soul's journey back to union after death is a path governed by karma, a system of retribution for actions taken in life. This emphasizes that after death, the soul will be judged and ultimately find salvation or atonement through union with God or facing punishment. Meanwhile, ancient Brahmanism, the precursor to modern Hinduism, offers a different perspective on the soul through two concepts: the universal self and the individual self. The universal self is the cosmic soul, the ultimate expression of reality, while the individual self represents the personal ego of each being. The relationship between karma and the cycle of rebirth here emphasizes the ongoing process of rebirth based on actions and outcomes in life, aiming for liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Jainism and Taoism, though different in origin and tradition, both share a notion of seeking liberation through ascetic practices and understanding of the Tao, the supreme law of the universe. Taoism views the Tao as the essence of all things, formless and shapeless, and the practice of aligning with the Tao as the path to liberation and ultimate reality. Jainism emphasizes the liberation of the soul from the constraints of the body and karma through asceticism and self-discipline to reach a state of omniscience, omnivision, absolute understanding, and sanctity. Some Buddhist traditions and the concept of the soul. In later Buddhist traditions, the concept of the soul is articulated through the notion of Buddha nature, an innate, pure, eternal, and indestructible spirit that pervades the universe. Buddhism's focus is not on affirming the existence of an unchanging individual soul after death, but on emphasizing that every being has the potential to achieve enlightenment, liberation from all suffering and the cycle of birth and death, thereby entering nirvana, a state of peace, without trouble, beyond the cycle of life and death. Buddha nature serves both as the goal and the means, illustrating that the path to liberation is not about escaping reality, but deeply understanding and accepting it. Compared to the concept of the soul in other idealist religions, Buddhism introduces the concept of emptiness, a perspective on the emptiness nature of all phenomena, denying the independent, fixed existence of the self or any eternal entity. Emptiness reflects the tight interconnection and mutual dependence of all things, thereby broadening the understanding of the universe and human beings, not as the absence of everything, but as the absence of permanence and separation. An example of misconceived notions in Buddhism is the story of the monk Sati in the scriptures, who misunderstood that consciousness, vijnana, was an eternal entity transitioning between lives. The Buddha criticized this view, emphasizing that all components of being are not self and impermanent. Similarly, in Vajrayana, Tantric Buddhism, the concept of rebirth is understood as the transformation of consciousness towards ultimate liberation, not the movement of an unchanging soul. Thus, Buddhism offers a unique and profound perspective on the soul issue, distinguishing and intersecting with other idealist religions, unfolding a deeply meaningful and profound spiritual journey towards self-awareness and liberation. Chapter 2: The Science of Near-Death Experiences and Misconceptions about the Soul. In the modern era, the remarkable advancements in science and technology have opened new doors to exploring and understanding the world around us and ourselves. However, despite modern science often leaning towards a materialist viewpoint, denying the existence of the soul after death, belief in the soul and the spiritual world remains deep and widespread across humanity. One of the most fascinating pieces of evidence for this is the scientific observation of near-death experiences, NDEs. Near-death experiences, where individuals describe out-of-body experiences and encounters with deceased loved ones or other spiritual entities, have sparked many questions and debates. Many scientists have attempted to explain these phenomena through biological and psychological mechanisms, yet there remain stories and experiences that cannot be fully explained, leading many to believe in a world or entity existing beyond the limits of current scientific understanding. Furthermore, stories about post-death experiences, PDEs, and communication with the spiritual world are also experienced, shared, and believed by many. These stories, although unverifiable scientifically, have become an important part of the culture and spiritual beliefs of various communities around the world. Belief in the soul and the spiritual world is not limited to near-death experiences. Many different spiritual traditions and religions have and are practicing rituals, memorial services, communication with the soul, and meditative practices with the aim of harmonizing or making contact with the spiritual world. No matter how much science progresses, belief in a world beyond the material world we see and sense through our faculties holds an important place in human spiritual life. Ultimately, although modern science provides clear and grounded explanations for many phenomena, the existence of the soul and the spiritual world remain concepts that science has yet to fully explain. The deep belief in the soul indicates that humans seek understanding of the world not only through reason but also through emotion, faith, and spiritual experience, enriching the multifaceted nature of humanity. Through an insightful look into the concept of the soul from both idealist religions and Buddhism, we see that each belief system offers a distinct and unique perspective on the nature and journey of the soul. Even though modern science has its limitations in explaining the soul and the spiritual world, belief in the soul remains an inseparable part of human consciousness and spiritual life. This highlights the existence of a deep spiritual need, a desire to connect with the intangible, transcending the limits of the material world, aiming for ultimate understanding and liberation. Chapter 3. Why did the Buddha deny the self? During 45 years of teaching, the Buddha employed various means to analyze, reveal, instruct, and clearly teach that there is not, does not exist, an eternal self, soul that is the owner, the possessor, the one who makes the body and mind, form and name. That all phenomena, whether name or form, are anattā, non-self. Denying the self, the beginning of the spiritual journey. In the Anattā Sutta, the Buddha presented a compelling argument about the non-existence of an I or a permanent self, thereby negating all notions of an entity fully controlling both the body and mind, form and name. This argument is not solely based on philosophical thought, but also stems from observing the realities of life. If there truly existed such a self, it would be able to control all aspects of life, from preventing death to avoiding suffering. Yet, impermanence and suffering remain undeniable aspects of life, proving the non-existence of the self. Through extensive study in the Nikaya texts, especially the Majjhima Nikaya and Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha used various methods to demonstrate this viewpoint. All things and phenomena, or all dhammas, are categorized into name, consciousness, and form, material. The Buddha explained that all dhammas, regardless of being name or form, arise based on dependent origination, the interaction between causes and conditions, not existing independently. Form, feeling, perception, formations, consciousness, the 5 aggregates and impermanence. In his teachings, the Buddha delved into the analysis of the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, formations, consciousness. He taught that each aggregate depends on interaction and cannot exist independently, thereby reaffirming the impermanence and non-self of all phenomena. The continuous arising and ceasing of the 5 aggregates serve as evidence for the harsh but liberating truth: nothing is eternal, nothing is unchanging. Dependent contact, exploring the arising and ceasing. The Buddha taught about the arising of feeling, perception, formations, and consciousness based on dependent contact, meaning the contact between sense organs and objects. He pointed out that all experiences, from material to mental, must arise through this interaction, and also through it they cease. Thus, there does not exist an eternal entity that can go through life without experiencing impermanence. Facing the challenge of relinquishing belief in the self and soul is one of the most crucial turning points in an individual's spiritual journey. Through observation, recognition, and a deep understanding of the truth of impermanence and non-self, we can gradually liberate ourselves from all attachments, suffering, and move closer to the state of nirvana. Conclusion: the journey towards enlightenment. The teachings of the Buddha are not merely philosophical, but also a call to action, encouraging each of us to live a mindful life, constantly observing and recognizing the truth of impermanence and non-self in all phenomena. The Buddha has left us an invaluable spiritual legacy, a path to freedom and liberation from afflictions, a journey towards peace and ultimate enlightenment. On this path, denying the self and the soul is not just the beginning, but also the fundamental foundation for building a meaningful life, aiming for freedom and liberation in every perception and action.